Love you, bro.
The guy! Oh my
Hey, Donald, this is Paul. Hey, if you get a chance, could you give me a call back, please?
You
Love you,
got
bro.
no run,
I want
Jeremy.
to talk to you about the house. Thank you. Donald, this is Paul. Love you, bro. Hey, Donald, this is Paul. Love you, bro.
Hi, I'm John,
Hi, I'm Trevor.
and you are listening to the next episode of The Caps Off Show.
The Caps Off Show. In real life, we haven't recorded in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, we did those
We're
last two
doing
so
this-
close together.
We're doing this very strategically, I would say.
Yeah, that's a nice word for late.
Yeah.
As in it's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah. But I mean, we're doing better than we were before.
Yeah.
Before the Mole Trevor's, where it was just like once every few months we'd sit down and record. Because now we're actually releasing them weekly.
I think anything is better than the distance of time between episodes 1 and 2. As long
it's
as
not
we
like-
can beat that, I think we're still on the on the board.
There was
We're not
like
at the
7
top.
months between 1 and 2.
So,
You know, it's funny that we talk about that because I had like an intro. Like I was like, I'm going to start the podcast with this. And it was, hey, let's talk about something we've never talked about before. Let's really, we've never touched on this. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on it on the record. And that's our old episodes. What do you think about them?
oh my god.
But we really, I was
change
planning
this
on doing that because we do it so often. And then we just went into it, started bashing on them anyway.
I hope anybody listening to this is just stabbing their ears right now because they're so fucking
I hope that
tired of
becomes a
it.
thing.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot
Well, it
of
already is a thing.
fandoms have a
We're
their
so
favorite
desperate
quotes.
for a thing that we come up with things all the time, and then we just drop them for the next thing.
That's true.
We
That's
like-
true. Well, but we've touched on how bad the early episodes are enough. You know, like the
Yeah.
Impractical Jokers have like Murray's a ferret.
Mm-hmm.
I hope if I ever meet someone who listens and they don't know me, that they walk right up to me and are like, yeah, you know, the first 10 episodes, worst thing I ever heard. Like, wow, if it isn't the first 10 episodes of Caps Off Trevor, I didn't know. And then I'll be like, wow, they hate me.
Yeah, I would like to put that to bed. I really would. But what you're saying, the reality is all too possible. Especially because, I mean, we'll never get away from it.
I
They're
hate to
bad.
say it. I hate to say it, right? You'll never hear me say anything
Don't
like it
say it.
again.
Don't say it.
Caps Off started getting good. The pivot point was when we had Dylan on. That's when we started the incline to getting better.
I want to argue with you, but I feel like since that was the first day I met Dylan, just so much of what he was saying, I don't want to give him too much credit, but so much of what he was saying was just really pulling my interest in. So that usually makes for a really good conversation. If you
Right.
can put something in front of me that I'm like genuinely intrigued about.
Yeah.
And as, I mean, you can tell from my past with my 5th grade story about writing that script, it's obvious that I always wanted, had a thing about movies even before I knew I did. So it really just took Dylan to sit there and make me feel like I needed to be better at it than him.
It's not a hard thing to do. Did you watch Liver?
I'm not gonna.
That was
I'm
all
not gonna
Dylan.
say that. Dylan's great. I think he's
All right, well,
he's
easy.
definitely leagues.
Don't use the
ahead.
G
Okay.
word.
I can say that he's leagues ahead of me in film, as long as I make the promise to myself that I can just use that as like you call it, the ladder.
I guess I was
You'd rather
about
be
to
at the
say
ladder,
like
the bottom of a ladder. How'd you say that?
it's better to be at the bottom of a ladder you want to climb than halfway up you don't want to climb.
Okay. See, Josh is like, I'm sick of climbing. I'm just kidding. But no, Dylan is one that just, not in a way of like with Levi, it's a rivalry. With Dylan, it's like, I want to be as good as you even after you progress. Like, I just want to keep following you up just so I can show you.
Well, I don't
that,
know. I think
A,
I'm gonna
not only
Ralph
can it be
was
done-
leagues ahead of like Liver or anything else
I
I've
thought you
seen
were gonna
Dylan put
say-
out. Fuck you, Dylan. I know you're listening. Let's stop sucking his dick.
Dylan hating the first. I thought you were gonna say like it was better than the one that it was up against in that competition.
All of them
we
are
had.
better than that. I gotta go, man. My popcorn's ready.
It was a pretty good premise, though. I just didn't get it at first, and after I got it, I wasn't happy that I got it. I wasn't like, oh, I was just like, oh, he's making popcorn, all right.
It was kind of. I felt
It's too much intensity.
You know what? Yeah, we buttered Dylan up. Now I got to bring him back down. So I'm okay
too much
talking about
intensity
this.
for making popcorn.
Yeah, and I know that was the joke, but it just seemed very surface level joke.
If you don't know what video we're talking about, just after the 48-hour film festival, we decided to have another film competition where we each made
Just
our
the four of us, me, you, Josh, and Dylan.
Yeah, our individual movies, and those are on our channel. I'm sure if you look hard enough, somewhere you'll find Dylan's channel. I don't want to plug him. That goes right. That would take us back into the spot where we're talking good about him. So
And I hate
can't
doing
plug
that.
him right
I can't
now.
stand doing that. Unless we're talking about his relationship with April. I can't talk good about Dylan.
Yeah, which is flourishing, if I may say. A couple of lovebirds.
Oh, yeah. I can't believe it. I was over at Josh's house the other day to film the episode of the Multiverse that's coming out with this podcast. And
by the couch,
April
there was a little bed with Josh's name knitted into it.
a dog
A
bed.
little dog bed, yeah.
Their dogs, Gizmo and Sadie, they sleep on the actual bed.
Last week's Into the Multiverse was actually based off of Josh and April's relationship.
Oh, yeah. I played the part of Josh.
Yeah.
Weston played the part of Dylan, and Anna played the part of April. It was very deep.
Life imitates art in the best ways.
Yeah, you brought up a little bit ago how I seem shy to talk about it, how I seem like I have nothing to say about the Multiverse.
Yeah, well, it's just in the sense of like the last few times I asked you, I feel like I want to like talk about it in the not only the substance, but I also feel like people like to hear that behind the scenes, like, well, the tricky part about how I got this shot is blah blah blah, and I engage you to do that, and it just seems like you're like, they watched it. What do you mean? Are you stupid?
I just
they saw it too.
I normally feel like my work should speak for itself, and I guess it's nice to hear about the behind the scenes stuff, which I gladly will. For example, in Trevor Cop, there's a shot of Weston that he was playing the criminal with all the shit. Yeah, there's a shot of him where Josh is standing right next to him, and I used the power of movie making and editing to make it seem like Josh is not in the frame at all, but really he's just a few feet to the side.
And that's hard because Josh usually takes up most of whatever frame he's in.
Right. I welcome you to try and find that, because it's literally impossible to figure out what shot it is.
Okay.
There's no imperfections in the shot.
Okay. I'll have to go back now, and if you go back and watch this, you'll be immediately entered into our Caps Off competition contest where you find that shot, and we fly you out here.
You know what?
We give you room and board in Trevor's spare room, and a board,
the
like
one
a
without the
2x4. You will get full room and board. Probably like oak, not something too expensive.
This is a good joke. I'm glad you're really taking it far.
Waiting for you to stop me. You can't just let me go like that.
I'll straight up say, sorry, I swallowed some of that down the wrong hole. I don't have COVID.
That's what she said.
Nice. No,
right before she coughed in my mouth.
Thank you for that. I'm trying to get back to what I was about to say. Oh, I would say, God damn it! If someone were to find which shot it was, mm-hmm. and then bring it to me with proof that they're not just guessing, I would give them a Caps Off shirt. I would have my parents make a Caps Off shirt, and I would give that to that person.
That they're not guessing.
I guess just anything that's not. Tell me how you found it. Tell me why you think it's that shot. Because if you just bring it to me and you're like, "Is it this one?" and then like the next fucking day you're like, "How about this one?" Then I'm like, "All right, you obviously don't know what you're talking about." But if you can find the shot and be like, "I have reason to believe it's this one specifically," I'll give you a Caps Off shirt for free.
As soon as this is released, Weston and Josh just rush to their keyboard and start entering the competition.
I don't think they'll know.
You don't think so?
No, I think I did a great job. Weston might remember. Josh, I don't think he'd be able to. That last episode of Caps Off, the Caps Off show, was a little rough. I remember hearing the first...
The cafe one?
Yeah, the diner one. I remember hearing the first little bit. I would... The diner noises weren't that bad. They were a little loud, but they weren't that bad. The worst thing was I kept hearing us chewing. Mm-hmm. I'd hear us...
in case you missed it.
Yeah, and I wanted to I was losing my mind.
Well, I think we're okay as long as you like put in like maybe if you can go back into the details on that episode and just edit it to say like ASMR, so it fits in that category as well, and people will be a little bit more accepting of that.
Yeah,
if it's defined that way.
We also talked about Spider-Man villains, and since then, I texted you as it was happening. I was so excited after I got done editing that one. God, sorry. After I got done editing that one, I listened to our conversation about Spider-Man, and I was so inspired, I guess. I bought Kraven's Last Hunt, and then I read it, and it was so incredible. I want all... Kraven the fucking Hunter is now one of my favorite Spider-Man villains.
Arguably a B hero in today's day and age of Spider-Man.
B or C, yeah.
Nobody really thinks about Kraven. I don't even know
I'd
that
say he's
much
one of the
about
few
Kraven.
untouched ones. Him, Chameleon. Rhino's never really been in a movie. He was in the last 3 minutes of TASM 2, but he hasn't gotten the respect he deserves.
True, but I feel like Rhino's a lot more used. Like almost
In, like,
every
games,
video
yeah.
game I've ever played for Spider-Man has had Rhino featured. He's a really good villain for that.
Yeah. He's a good, like, I would say starter villain.
Big boss guy. He's really
Yeah.
dumb though. Like for a Russian genius to build this giant or
Yeah.
whatever Rhino version you like. He's really stupid.
And despite being the same size, he's gotten his shit kicked right the fuck in by Hulk.
Yeah.
It's not even close. So what's the point? There are a couple others. Spencer Smythe, Smythe, S-M-Y-T-H-E.
I don't even know
That's
who
a
that is.
really obscure Spider-Man villain. He made like little spider bots to fight him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard about spider bots before.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it was just like, what is he, just like a doctor character, like some guy in a lab?
Yeah, like knock off J. Jonah Jameson,
Okay.
who just hates Spider-Man.
Oh.
And
Yeah, it's boring. Nobody cares.
I'd say Kraven and Chameleon are some
Bring
of
in the Black
lowest
Spider-Man.
level. Oh my god, dude! And he's in the symbiote suit the entire comic book.
Oh, really?
And it's like clear how aggressive he is. He still cares about people, but
Is it part of a certain line? Like,
no, I'm pretty sure there was a period for like in the 90s
Spectacular,
before
amazing.
Venom was. Yeah. Hang on, I gotta pull it out because it's not on the side. The
Amazing Spider-Man. Okay, so that's in the line of like, I'm pretty sure it was Amazing Spider-Man 300 that first was the first appearance of Venom. So
Yeah, so
Gotta be
it's
somewhere in
building
that
up to that. And
timeline.
he was
Kinda
in the
cool.
black suit for a long time, right? If I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, possibly years.
a lot. I don't know about that. It was a lot longer than most stories.
Yeah.
Try to make it out to be, especially like Spider-Man 3. He was in that for like not even a week, a couple days.
Yeah. But the things that are present in Spider-Man 3 are present in that comic where he's, clearly more aggressive,
yeah.
more just angry, but it's not it's still he's still caring enough that when Kraven puts on the suit and starts smashing people's faces in and killing them, that people are like, that's not fucking Spider-Man. No way.
He would at least use like a trash can or like a manhole cover,
Right.
not his own fist.
I don't know, some of the physics in that Spider-Man game got me thinking. You like
Nobody
slam
can
someone off
survive
a
that.
building.
Seriously, for a while, I think it's actually a funny kind of cool detail that like if you fling somebody like PS4 Spider-Man, you fling somebody off the building and the little web device comes out and catches them.
Yeah. But every now and again,
It's not that way in any other game.
he's got like finishers where he'll like web him up and slam him on the ground.
Yeah.
And then you can do that off the side of a building, and you'll just see him on the ground at the bottom of the. Like Spidey just killed that man.
Or there's like one where like two webs around their hand and then wrap it around their
Yeah,
their
I've seen that
neck,
one.
and then he doesn't slam them on the ground, he just pulls it and it makes that like knockout like
I have
kind
a
of
photo
noise
on my
It's like,
PS4.
Jesus Christ, you just snapped that man's neck.
I have one on my PS4 that I thought was so funny when I took it because it's got the photo mode of my Spider-Man curb stomping someone. It's like clearly they just died. Their head it's part of a finisher, and their head is like up against the curb, and he just fucking mashes it in.
The game's pretty brutal at times.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, today Miles Morales came out. Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play that. I haven't started the download yet. I haven't even bought it.
Like the last Spider-Man, I probably won't get to it for about 2 years.
Is that how long it took you?
Yeah. That's.
You didn't play it in When did you play it? Did you play it this year?
I played Spider-Man
It's 2 years old
after I
right
met
now.
you. You were one of the people who told me how good it was. Yeah.
I feel like I should remember that.
Because I didn't even have a PS4 until after I met you. Remember that?
No.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I thought you had both the Xbox and the PS4 for
No, I
as long
moved
as
here
I knew
with just
you.
the Xbox, and I bought the PS4. I think it was the last. It had to be like a Black Friday sale. 'Cause
Yeah.
It was pretty cheap.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it came with Spider-Man. It was the only game I had for a while, so
But
I was not
I
complaining.
can tide you over, yeah.
It was great. Last week, quote unquote, last week, we talked about the election, and I think one of the things we kind of just were very just gone like a cliffhanger about it, about how it would go, and almost nothing has happened, to be honest.
It was announced on my birthday.
Yeah.
The winners.
Yeah.
So
Which,
to the winners go the spoils. The spoils
No,
being
I don't
a
think-
whole ass country.
I don't think that's irregular at all. There's definitely been elections like that it took a while to get who the clear answer was. But
Yeah, I was under the impression that it was going to be like the 2016 one, where you knew that night.
Yeah,
who won.
Yeah,
Just 'cause
I didn't
of
think
how
it
it
would
all-
be just be. They kind of told us a long time before that the difference between all the because so many states like Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't allow mail-in voting at all. They haven't done paper ballots since the 80s.
Really?
So yeah, they had to.
Like,
kinda
it's not
come
traveled by
around.
Pony Express. I don't fucking want it.
Yeah, I don't think Pennsylvania did a lot of paper ballots either, which is why those two
Then why
states
did
kind
it
of took
take
a
so
long.
long?
Those two states, it took a really long time to, because you got to open the envelope. They're inside another envelope. Open that envelope and flatten the paper out as much as you can so that it'll clearly run through the machine and be tabulated. And that on one ballot takes time to do all that. So that's one of the main reasons it took so much time to get where we got. But the main thing I wanted to talk about is like there wasn't this like explosion that I think a lot of people were expecting was going to happen based on the results. I think for the most part, people thought either way, whoever won, somebody. I think we kind of said that last time. Either way, whoever won, somebody was going to be upset somewhere.
Yeah, there were businesses boarding up before the election in like Washington
Yeah,
D.C.
yeah.
boarding up so that they'd be safe from any
And
rioters.
I know the turnout in DC absolutely all week long was like almost just that whole what used to be I think it's still called Lafayette Square, but that part in front of it is now called Black Lives Matter Plaza, and that place is just packed, like no traffic, no nothing, just people as far as you can see. Not very COVID friendly, but
Right.
whatever. If they want to celebrate, whatever. But I guess what my question would be is like, most of that is based on. So obviously Biden won.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't see it that way, including the president himself. Do you think this explosion we were waiting for from one side or the other? Do you think maybe there's just a delay to that?
It's weird.
The certification for the election doesn't actually come until December 12th.
Yeah.
So I think in the president's mind, it's obvious he still thinks he has a fighting chance, because otherwise why would he still be going on without conceding?
Well, I think
like
he's
the last 10 presidents have done, or losers have done in the election.
I think he knows, but he's trying to kind of
See if he
save
can,
face,
yeah,
see if maybe. But
work his way around
I've seen
it.
plenty of pictures like memeing him for how sad he looks, like just like on the White House lawn, he's like legitimately frowning, and people are like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Donnie's having a rough go."
So Okay, so what I'm trying to say is,
Well, I don't know if the explosion will happen because I know. Well,
I'm saying if it does happen, do you think maybe like we all expected election day to be crazy, right?
Yeah.
A couple days went by and we still didn't know what was going to happen, but you kind of figured when it did drop, they decided or whatever projected who the winner was. There was going to be some kind of uptick, and then there wasn't really. But now it's almost like it's a common thing. It's almost like we get to watch him lose twice because he's not only accepting his first loss, but he's demanding recounts here and there. And we all know, only 3 times has recounts changed the result in an election.
Some guy was like running for, I think, Congress in California, and it was him against this other person. And he was the Republican. He was like, I demand a recount. And the actual results were like, he had 13% of the vote.
Oh, no. So it went down.
Yeah. Well, no, he didn't. They didn't. The joke is like, you don't need a recount, buddy. Come on.
So, I mean, that's not. It's not the same thing, but it's kind of similar with the election we have now, where it's not going to change at all.
I don't think so either.
So do you think
I had someone try to tell me the other night that 78% of all the total votes in the election were proven to be fraudulent, and I was like, no, Megan, no.
It's the time of the year for disinformation. I think.
The time of the every 4 years.
Yeah.
But
so we were all kind of expecting this thing, and we just kind of looked around, and nothing happened.
I've seen a lot of like really pro-Trump people that I know, who kind of took it really well.
Yeah.
Who were like ranting and raving to me beforehand that it was going to be. Oh, if Biden gets elected, it's going to be the end all be all. That was kind of the thing, is like, no matter each side was like, if the other person gets elected, the whole world's going to end. The planet will explode. Right? It was such a big deal.
I think it got to the point where some of us were just fucking hoping that was the case.
After the election.
Season finale. Let's do it.
Series finale.
Yeah.
And no, I like season finale because that implies there's like another set like of humans with like little antennas, little green antennas, like me and you sitting around a table podcasting. Anyway,
Blorg's off.
Yeah, but I knew. What'd you say?
I said Blorg's off.
Blorg's off.
Just some alien word.
I love it. But yeah, and then those same people who were like telling me about that after the election were like, yeah, I guess Biden won. And that was it.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, all right, I guess that's the explosion.
I have to say I was kind of surprised to see the amount of people that did that, although I don't really I don't know what reaction I was hoping or not hoping for, but expecting.
You
exactly.
said hoping.
I wasn't hoping. I'm still not hoping for a bad reaction. I mean, he lost. Right. Accept it. Move on. But
I think that's important because that's kind of what you wanted people to do in 2016 with Hillary. But there's always the extremists on either side who are going to be like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, my person won, fuck you, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Dad?
Just because I don't fall on either side, though, doesn't mean that there isn't a whole large percent of the population that has these hurt feelings.
I think the biggest
like to
thing
rub it in a little more
is a lot of the like really pro-Trump people were pro-Trump, but the majority of people voting for Biden, the fucking saying was #settle for Biden.
Yeah.
If that's the slogan that gets you to win, there's a fucking problem. Settle for Biden?
It says
Are you kidding me?
It says everything you know or you need to know about you and your opponent.
Yeah. It was a shitty election.
But there are these people. I've seen countless. I wouldn't say countless. I've seen maybe under 20, but still a lot if you think about it.
That's roughly the size of the Caps Off audience.
Videos, TikToks through Facebook, YouTube, these people making these like logs where they're talking about like, you better get ready, 'cause if he loses, it's all fraud and we're coming out. And it's like, I know those people aren't the majority, but even a minority with a gun is that's a terrible sentence. I have to take that back. Even
cut it out?
No.
Okay.
I can't.
Finish the sentence, John.
A minority of Trump supporters.
I knew what you meant.
So say you take Trump supporters and even 10% of them going out with guns in the streets, and they've decided that they're not happy with what society has chosen. Even that's dangerous. It takes one person. All these you look at most mass shootings in the world, and it's 1, 2, maybe even 3 people. That's all it takes, and that the KD ratio does not go well with mass shootings. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's usually 1 or 2. So it's just people like that I have to constantly think about. Like, we haven't had a lot of like these killings and I know I can't even say that. I would say we wouldn't have school shootings because the schools have been closed, but we definitely had almost a business as usual amount of like other domestic violent things happening just with random people, people going onto Walmart and attacking people and crazy shit like that. Who knows if we'll ever get away with that.
Hang on, I'm trying to find a thing here on Twitter that I saw. There was some guy at the at U of A, University of Arizona, who was saying the exact things you were describing. Like, there were screenshots of like his Snapchat story, which was like just essentially saying like, if Biden wins, I'm going to be a very angry man, and I'm going to take it out on all of you, and you'll feel my wrath and shit. And it was like really like, can we get this guy taken care of?
Again,
it's getting a lot of traction.
I stress that's not the majority of Trump supporters.
Right.
I have said.
I think a lot of people. There were still a lot of people on the conservative side that were like, well, settle for Trump. Yeah. Even though that wasn't the running slogan for the campaign. You just kind of hear the louder voice a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. They had, I'm assuming it was the same people, but Hillary had the same thing, a huge like campaign of settle for Hillary. And they actually got kicked out of a Clinton rally because they had the big settle for Hillary signs. And they're like, no, we're on your side. And they're like, you still got to go. We can't have that message in here.
And she lost.
Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? We support you.
Biden was like, you know what? I'll take it. And he won.
It's kind of related. I was reading an article earlier. It was about this guy who used to kind of like self-proclaim be a part of QAnon. I think most people who are in QAnon is just about self-proclaimed. There's
they're proud of it.
Yeah, I don't think there's like requirements.
Well, if you're
like
gonna
a seal you have to like swear onto or something like that. I'm pretty sure you can just be like, just read something you read on Reddit and be like, yeah, I'm part of QAnon now. I guess you just have to agree with it.
This might be dangerous to say.
Anything can't be as dangerous as what they say, but go on.
Because I try and watch myself and try not to take like a super huge stance, especially on things like this.
As long as you're not about to agree with them.
I think there's a lot of really wacky shit that comes along with QAnon. And if you're in a mindset where you're like believing that and running with, like JFK Jr., he was going to be the vice president and Trump was going to win in a landslide or whatever.
It was not just he was going to be the vice president. It was somebody predicted on a set day that Trump was going to hold a rally in Dallas, where JFK was shot, Sr. was shot, and he was going to announce, and JFK Jr., who died in 1998,
right?
Or
didn't
what,
actually die.
No, I think it was 90. It was 98, 91, or 92. It was in the 90s. I don't remember. He's dead as fuck. Okay, but according to this QAnon conspiracy, he's gonna come on stage, back from the dead, announce himself as like basically the new Jesus, and then replace Mike Pence and show his full support for the real Jesus.
Now, I would have wanted that because the Bible says that the Antichrist claims to be Christ.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think Trump's ever said it outright.
I don't think Trump's the Antichrist by any means.
No, they said the same about Obama.
Right.
Actually, I remember so did your...
Wait, I was going somewhere. Hang on. No, because I was about to say the really edgy, risky thing.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick. I think if you're going to believe something as wacky like that, as wacky as that, you're not going to... The part of your brain that's... If you're going to subscribe to that and be like, wow, that sounds like something plausible that could happen, the part of your brain that's like putting shields up because you're embarrassed about what you believe is gone.
Yeah.
You know? So there has to be so much of you that believes in that to believe that. And so you're not going to sit there and think that it's wrong.
I can't say 100% agree with that, actually.
Really?
I think you're almost exactly right where you're going with it, but there still has to be that shield of like...
Well, it's like Halo. If I'm never going to talk to someone about Halo and think like, I better not talk about this. This is kind of cringy thing for me to like.
But you understand that Halo is fictional lore.
Right.
They don't have to be embarrassed about the QAnon because in their mind it's the truth and you're fucking stupid.
That's what I'm saying is like if you're gonna go so far over the edge as to believe something like that, there's the part of you that's going to be ashamed about that has already been left so far behind.
I guess. Okay, yeah. I feel like
I think we're saying the same thing.
Stuff with like Halo, it's just like it's.
I use simpler metaphors. I know scale matters in a lot of things, but I use simpler metaphors to break it down so someone can understand.
Well, it's not even like a scale thing. It's almost just like a classification thing. Because I understand being embarrassed of being very versed on the lore of Halo, and then I
can't understand why you would be. What do you mean you're embarrassed? Excuse me, Master Chief's suit jacks him off.
And then, but there also comes with a level of like I could come to a point where I'm not embarrassed of this, but I know I probably should be. With the QAnon, I don't think it's ever like I know I shouldn't be saying these things. I know I shouldn't talk about these things or make these kinds of accusations. Right. I know I shouldn't, be as devoted as I am. It's just straight up like balls deep.
Right. I feel like we're saying the same thing here.
We probably are. But anyway, did you in your elementary schools or middle schools, any of the elections in your past, did you have like mock elections at the school?
We didn't have mock elections. I've been a part of an election before. When I ran for military ball king in JROTC, I had to go to all the other classes and campaign. We had fucking election posters and shit up.
But you never like when an election came around, they never was like, all right, we're for fun as a school, we're gonna vote for the president. You never done that?
No, God no.
Really?
That sounds like they're fucking children. Hang on, before you get into this, I do want to talk about my election experience because I know that's way juicier than what I have to say.
I think I have a counter argument for what you're going to say, though. So
I was just going to say I remember each election. I remember I was in 7th grade, and I was so young that I would just kind of take whatever was given to me.
Yeah.
lacey's getting in dangerous ground with that.
No,
me and my brother have talked about it.
Oh, my God.
She said
child.
Sleepy Joe, and we were like, can you say Lacey, say anything bad about Joe Biden. Anything.
Or just anything, period, that's not a complete and utter lie. Just one basis fact about his 47 years.
And I was like, so you're pro-Trump? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, say one thing you like about him. See, you don't know about politics. Don't go out pushing it. If you're well-researched, have these conversations. But if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, shut up.
It's such a dangerous game, though, because you're basically like, I know your parents told you that this is the person you should support and believe in.
Yeah.
But they're fucking wrong. They're stupid. Like, how do you tell a child?
I wouldn't go that far, but I think there are a lot of children that just believe things because their parents do.
Yeah.
And I think it's a huge mature lesson when you learn that like you don't have to do things the way your parents did them. Yeah. But I do remember I was like that. I'll be straightforward and like I remember like grilling some girl, I think her name was Christy, about like, your parents are voting for Obama. Mitt Romney's where it's at. Mitt Romney's he attends Black Lives Matter protests.
He attended one Black Lives Matter protest, but he also voted
more than 300% the amount that Donald Trump has gone to.
That's true, but that doesn't make him a good person. He also voted with the Republicans in Senate to push forward the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett, which is the fastest nomination they've ever done on a Supreme Court judge. But that's not what we're talking about here.
No. But I was just going to say, like, I remember each election.
Yeah.
This is...
I did see that.
I'm really scared. I try not to put my own. It's a minefield right now, trying to avoid putting my own personal political opinions into this podcast.
I am not steering around it. The only thing I'm steering around is coming off as a complete like libtard, which I happen
If
to
they
call
knew you like
myself
I knew you.
sometimes. Yeah, well,
I would call you
I don't
a
really care
libtard.
how you see me, but so our school had one of those like mock elections.
Yeah,
and
you just voted for president.
Well, yeah, I mean it didn't matter for anything, but it's just like it. Okay, the
they're
point
kids,
is,
leave them out of it.
no, but the point is it's like a wholesome thing. They didn't like make these like presentations in class
Fucking
about
propaganda.
like
Serve your
trying to
country like
skew
Fallout.
you weird, yeah. I think it's more predicated on like you're an American. Americans get to vote. You should get accustomed and appreciative of that at a young age, and so they try to like my cousin takes her kids to go voting with her. She did this year. The kids put them. It's a fun thing to teach your kids, I think.
Yeah.
When you live in a democratic society, I can't speak for other, like countries and their. I don't know how other cultures work, but I think it's a good thing to. And so at least this is the first year I ever voted. I always kind of hated the idea of patriotism, anything to do with America, just because I
can't understand why.
I was always fed the shittier part of it. When it came around to this year, I have a lot more of a optimistic outlook on it, especially because it worked out in my favor.
Right.
I voted on so many things this year, and the first time I voted, it almost worked out across the board for me. But in the elementary school one, I lived like 3 blocks away from our elementary school. We used to walk up and just stand there and wait for them to let us in. Because my parents would always rush us out to the house, or my mom would. She didn't want us to be late. Anyway, so I'd always stand there in the morning and talk with my friends, and we knew the election thing was coming up that day, so of course that's what everyone's talking about, getting ready to walk in for class. And I think this was it was 5th grade when the election
Of fucking course it was.
Isn't
Isn't it always?
Was
that the only year you were alive?
Same old story, same old song and dance. Same grade. But that was Obama, McCain.
Yeah.
And I remember
that.
in line, and
That was 5th grade for you. That was 3rd grade for me.
a kid that was my friend turned around and asked me who I was going to vote for. And I told him Obama, and him and 4 other children. I'm from Iowa, by the way.
Yeah.
Big old red state. 4 other kids just immediately turned around and started grilling me to hell. And one of them got in my face, and he was like, Obama's the Antichrist, right? He's going to take your firstborn child. That's the law of the land.
By the time
obviously.
By the time you had a kid, you had a kid so fucking young, and by the time you had him, Obama was out of
I
office.
still couldn't get him in while Obama was in office.
Yeah.
There was such a delay.
I wanted him to be it was a gift. Now you're stuck with him, saddled with Louis.
Going to D.C., just holding him out the window. Like the one... I don't know the main character of Lion King.
Simba?
Simba?
Yeah, Simba and Rafiki. Fuck
Yeah.
you. And oh my God, there's something I've been waiting to talk about on Caps Off, and I might save it. Save it.
You gotta save it. Save it for later, at least. But anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, that was like one of the first dives into politics I really had. But I wasn't really my parents aren't very political. This year might be the first year they ever really got interested and involved and actually cared about it. I think my mom voted a lot, but before that, neither of them really gave a damn.
Yeah.
But I do think that's kind of important to do with the kids, but it definitely backfired for me when I wanted to vote for the first black president, and I got yelled at about it. But so back to QAnon.
Did they pressure you? Did you change your vote?
Hell no. Fuck
Good.
no.
Good
That
for
made
you.
me want to vote even more for who I was going to pick. He was a black guy.
My sister.
It was all there, black and white.
My sister ended up voting. I'm not going to reveal what exactly it was, but she ended up voting no on a certain proposition that she was in favor of, just because our parents told her no, You should vote no. That
my
sucks.
God.
And she was like, okay.
Well, I'm glad she fucking lost,
Yeah,
obviously.
I'm also
Idiot.
glad they lost, and now I get to smoke weed legally.
Amen. Oh, I've never been happier. Like, the first year I got to vote, the first time I was handed a ballot, I got to vote on whether weed was legal or not. And you bet your fucking sweet ass that our countrymen, this beautiful, wonderful state of Arizona, not only came out blue, not only gave us a blue senator, but then fucking just, we can all get high and just laugh about how blue we are. Which is what I do which is what I do all the time anyway. So it's a sad story. So where I was going with the QAnon thing, the article I was reading was about this guy who, like I said, he was big into the QAnon for years and years, and he went down this crazy rabbit hole to where when the election, after election day, that's when things really start cooking up, because you can't, you can say this, you can say that, but nothing happens until the votes are counted, right? Yeah. And then we were all like, here it is, November 3rd, count the votes. And then we got almost, it was like 5 or 6 days of just...
the 7th. It was my birthday that it was announced, so...
Almost ambiguity.
4 days. Yeah.
And in this time, this guy in the article, I think...
It was a long 4 days.
It really was. I spent most of it in my house watching the news. It is kind of embarrassing if you think about it. But so I think the guy's name was Justin. We'll call him Justin. So Justin, when it started to progress to the point where Biden was winning, he's obviously QAnon. He's a big Trump supporter. And if you don't know what QAnon at this point is, and we've just been talking about it, you should probably just at least go look it up for yourself.
I think Cliff Notes, that's the shortened one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cliff Notes, because I didn't know about QAnon until a little bit ago when I met someone who heavily believed in QAnon. The Cliff Notes is essentially, it's a right-wing theory. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try and say this as neutrally as possible. It's a right-wing theory.
It's a far right-wing conspiracy theory.
It's a right-wing theory.
It's a far right-wing.
I got it.
This is the.
I have this.
It's the FBI's explanation of what this group is.
Okay,
it's a far right conspiracy theory. They're basically declaring
it paints
that
Donald Trump as the hero of America.
Yeah,
and he's fighting against some evil
the cabal
family.
Is what they call it. The cabal is the group of. Pedophiles, I guess you would call them.
Yeah. And they're headed, them and all of the Democrats are headed by the Rothschild family, who control everyone through money.
Precisely.
And he is the only person who knows about all of it and is actively fighting against it.
Yes.
He's a hero.
Pedophile Wars. Sounds like an awesome movie, to be honest, but it's the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah. Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
You want to make that movie?
Well, right now we got to make the movie about Watergate. It was great.
We can't.
What it could have been.
Don't want to, like you said, don't want to walk or run before I can walk.
Right.
So when the election results started to say, like, most people were projecting Biden as the winner, he went on. He called into work for days on end and just went on like a daily binge of research because he was bound and determined to find where the election fraud was. Like, he's like, I know it's out there. Yeah. There's no way Biden won. He's a QAnon guy. He's pushed so far into this that he used his own bodily energy, his own time, day after day, just searching for where he could put the pieces of the puzzle together and help what so many people are also just losing their minds about trying to figure out. Mm-hmm. He didn't find it. He didn't find anything, which is the status quo right now.
Yeah,
there are cases of voter fraud, not more than any other year. People using like their dead relatives' ballots, and people attempting to vote twice in different voting locations. That's every year they catch it. That's voter fraud. That's literally what the system's set up to get.
Yeah.
What he did find, however, was a Reddit thread that rocked his world. And it's called...
I've seen a few of those.
I bet you have. The dark hole that Reddit is.
I think we mean rock my world in different senses for sure.
I hope
Because I
so.
doubt he stumbled upon some like,
I don't
good porn.
want to know where in what definition of rocking your world it is. I'm just gonna take it as like a
I already
broad
said
spectrum.
porn. I already said it.
But he found a Reddit subreddit called it's called QAnon Casualties. Why are you laughing?
The name sounds like here are good soldiers who died fighting for a good fight.
Okay, that is kind of funny. It did sound like that the first time I saw it, but I had to keep reading the article to find out. And then basically what this subreddit is it's people who either were formerly formally described themselves as QAnon, or are related to family members, people who heavily follow QAnon. Mm-hmm. And it's basically like a support group for people who have, it's just a conspiracy theory, right?
Okay, so this guy, Justin?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He was still balls deep in researching even after JFK Jr. wasn't brought out and announced to be the vice president. He was still all about it.
Okay, he wasn't researching QAnon stuff. He was researching election fraud stuff.
But he's still QAnon.
Yeah, he did
after...
He did say in the article that it wasn't there. He wasn't as in depth as more people would be.
Yeah.
But he definitely, his description of it is like, I'm not gonna say all of this is right, but the lack of evidence to show that it's wrong isn't there.
The lack of evidence to show that it's right is the same amount.
I'm glad you said that because I thought the same thing reading that. But it's literally two sides of the same coin. But which is why they call it a conspiracy theory. But so what this Reddit does is, you know, like I was saying, it's a conspiracy theory. It's all somebody came up with this.
Yeah.
Whether it was a man, a woman, someone years ago,
or it's the truth. Fuck you, buddy.
Or if it's the thank you. Trevor stands up for every party.
The birthday party.
There's no minorities around when Trevor's here because he'll get your voice heard.
Well, yeah, I'm a big supporter of the minorities. I'm not like you.
I think you're
a
just
minority with a gun.
I think you're just. I think you're just a fucking devil's advocate.
Might be a little bit.
So with this just being a conspiracy, you'd think it wouldn't have that much effect, but some people have really had their lives rocked about it because some people get so just devoted to it and drawn into it that it changes how they act around other people.
Yeah.
Changes how they treat people, changes like maybe they found something within all these theories, because it's not just one theory. It's actually like a web of like different things, so much that you can have a different like topic that you're mad about that's different from another QAnon person, because there's so much in the theory itself that you literally just find what suits you and get mad about it. You know what I mean?
That sounds like just how I live my life.
Yeah, but to the point of like you go to the QAnon subreddit and then you're like,
okay.
This all seems like bullshit, and that's not true. Wait a minute, that's exactly like that. Fits
My
in
cat was ran over when I was a kid. Fuck that guy.
You know, something that fits in with my interests.
Under Donald Trump, no more cats will be run over.
Yeah, it's the same way as how a lot of people look at news. Like people who are big on like fake news, that's fake news.
Yeah.
And then they come along something that fits their agenda, and they're like, oh yeah, see, now Fox is finally telling the truth. It's about time you guys started saying, shit like that. So that's kind of like how QAnon, how it spreads so fast, because there's all these different elements of it that, like, if it fits your agenda, you just latch on and you're part of this part of QAnon and you're part of this part of QAnon.
Yeah.
So where he was is he got to this subreddit, and there's all these people telling these stories about how their family members have either, like they cut them off, or even worse than that, like they've gotten into such big arguments about political topics that they just straight attack each other and shit like that. And then
which is the status quo in election season.
Yeah. But QAnon stuff usually has a little bit more like cayenne on top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got a little bit more kick.
Yeah.
There's even this one that he noted out in the article that he read was someone wrote about their aunt who was so just absolutely drenched in the Kool-Aid of the QAnon stuff. You like that?
Yeah, 'cause you just told me about that like a couple weeks ago.
Jonestown
Keep
stuff.
drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I guess I
had
still
never
can't
heard that
believe you've
before.
Never heard of the Jonestown.
And you've been hearing that your whole life.
Yeah.
Keep drinking the fucking Kool-Aid, buddy.
It's a good one. Even when you're having it yelled at you, it's still pretty funny. But so this lady, as soon as they projected Biden as the winner on the news, she just killed herself. She's like, I can't stand to live in that. She said, I can't stand to live in the dangers of Biden's America. And she knows that since Biden lost, the cabal is coming for her and her kids now. And she just killed herself because she couldn't take it anymore. And it's like, of course, this is Reddit. That could be completely 112% bullshit. But you know that...
Who the fuck could be here?
This is our first surprise guest on Caps Off. Who is it? Trevor's answering the door.
Hello.
Hi, Mel.
Yeah, Matt Bowden. I'm with Mount Vista Baptist Church. We're just out in the neighborhood telling people about the love of Christ and inviting people to our church.
Oh, it's a Baptist church guy.
I'd like you to come if you're available until service.
He knocked on the wrong door. I don't know if you can hear any of that back conversation. You can probably only hear me.
Well, we'd love to have you. And more importantly than anybody goes to church is where we're going to spend eternity.
Right.
So on the back, there's a couple verses of scripture that tells about how you can know for sure you're going.
What's the difference between a real church and a Baptist church?
I'm Trevor.
Is Christ still there?
Okay.
Got the right. There you go.
I'm sure he is. Jesus be with you.
All right. New topic. New topic. Are you 100%? This guy just showed up.
Yeah.
He gave me
Gave you a card.
a card. Yeah, he wants me to go to his church, and he said, more important than what church you go to is where we spend eternity. And so we're gonna read these. This card that he gave me. That said,
It's like a pamphlet for like Palm Springs.
Are you 100% sure that if you died today, you would go to heaven? You must realize you're a sinner and cannot measure up. Understand that sin has a penalty. Jesus paid the penalty. Believe on Jesus today.
Believe on Jesus?
On Jesus. That guy was nice.
Sounds erotic.
I feel bad. Fucking making fun of his shit, but
I don't feel bad.
Jesus paid the penalty. If you don't
On
sin,
the back it says
Jesus
you
died for
are
nothing.
the missing piece.
It does.
What's the puzzle? Is it a picture of God? Am I like part of the beard? I'm just like
Like those big collages
Yeah.
that you see in like an elementary school of the logo.
I'm probably one of the pieces. When you pick it up, you get really frustrated because it looks like it's in a big, like the beard takes up quite a few
Right,
pieces,
a
so
whole
you
lot of
don't know where. Yeah, you just see strands and stuff like that.
Wow. What are the odds? Were you saying stuff in the mic?
Yeah, I was narrating the whole time. I don't know if it picked up any either of you guys, but I hope it
Probably
did.
got a little bit of background noise.
Probably. I turned the mic to you guys at one point, but you weren't saying anything interesting.
Well, it was weird. It was weird. I can't believe that just happened. He just knocked a little.
Is that the first like solicitor you've had
Yeah.
in general, or just at this house?
At this house, I've had him come to my parents' house, but like he just sat there and he was like, "Hi, I'm Matt. We're talking." He would say something, and I'd be like, "All right," and then we would just stare at each other. I'd be like,
You know what? I don't.
I don't really go to church all that much at all. And he'd be like, "All right, well, I mean, that's when he said that eternity line," and then he just kept looking at me, and I'd be like, "What else do you want from me? Turn around." It was nice to meet you. I'm Trevor. All right, see ya.
Those guys are
Hightail it,
brave.
pack it up.
Because there's a lot of
He was a
trolls
big
in
dude.
the world.
He was a big fucking dude. And that guy could take care of himself.
That would not stop me from shitting on Christ in front of him.
Oh, brave! Like I thought you meant like going door to door, like someone could snatch him up.
yeah, I'm worried about the solicitors getting like trafficked and stuff. No, they know what they're getting into going door to door. I mean, just that they almost don't know what they're getting into in the way of like you could have someone like you who's really respectful, but if he knocked on my door, that would not have been the interaction.
I know. I don't know
went
why
on.
you're so mean to people. We used to go to the gym together, and there was that time where that army recruiter walked in, and he was like, "Hey guys," and you said, "Absolutely not." You cut him off, and he said, "Hey guys," and you went, "Absolutely not."
I didn't want what he was fucking selling.
And then he turned to me, and he was like, "You ever thought about joining the army?" And I was like, Oh, no. I mean, I did for a little bit, but, I just figured it wasn't for me. And he was like, well, why not? And I was like, I think the guy you're here to see is back there.
Yeah, there's all kinds of buff dudes over there.
I can't understand how you just are mean to people with no
I'm not
remorse.
okay, you're painting me in such a bad light here, and you're not wrong too. But it's not just like any person I'm mean like that to. It's first of all people who put themselves.
How dare you bother me with God?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say that sentence unironically because how old is religion? Not old enough for someone to come to my
greater
fucking
than 7 years.
Old enough for someone that doesn't need to come to my door and tell me that it fucking exists. First of all,
He wants me to come to his church.
I'm sure there's
He
churches
seeked
everywhere.
me out, dude.
What
He
church?
sucked
Why
me
is that
out.
church
He
better than
sucked
the
me
other
out.
churches, though?
Dude, the place where you go to church doesn't matter. What does matter is where you're spending eternity.
And I already told you, Palm Springs. I'm gonna spend eternity with my fucking toes in the sand.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, and a beer in my hand.
A brew in your hand and a bro by your side.
Or hell, if it does exist. That's plan B. It's all
He
that
was nice. He
stipulation.
just kept like staring at me.
Of course
and
he was
smiling,
nice.
and I was like,
Coming
what
to
next?
your door, he's trying to sell you shit.
"Sell me God."
Yeah, just because you can't put
You
religion,
can't put a price on God, Matt.
just because you can't put religion in a bag doesn't mean you can't sell it. Just like insurance, you can't put insurance in a bag, but you can certainly sell it. And churches do a lot of selling. They do a lot of religious stuff, but fuck, do they do a lot of selling?
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of money comes into churches.
You think
Churches who ask for money are
How many
almost
churches do you think there have
insulting to
been
me.
where they've passed around the donation basket and it's gotten back up to the front, and when the service was over, the fucking pastor just walked in the back and was like, "Finally," and just stuffed all that shit in his wallet?
How many churches? I'd say the majority of churches.
They're
Most
just
churches.
stuffing them to themselves. I don't think it's most churches take the fucking donation money and keep it for like
I wouldn't
one
say they
dude.
take it all, but you know those churches don't like pastors. They devote themselves to churches.
Right.
They don't get a paycheck from the people who come in and pray to God.
Well, sure.
Who
I
pays
think a
the
lot of
church?
them have greater
Who
things.
pays the church?
Okay, so
Who
you're
pays the
talking
pastor?
about
How does the
about
pastor
in,
live? How does he
in-
pay his water bill?
You're
How does
talking
any of
about
this-
in a broader sense, in sort of like,
you think that-
my taxes are paying for you to go to school. One of those kinds of things where it's like he gets paid through a process that comes from the donation money.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's my point was like he's not grabbing straight out of it and just stuffing it directly in his wallet like, haha, those fucking
True,
suckers.
but
because I think if you're going to be devoting your life to something,
Okay, here's
these
the
people
question.
have convinced themselves, and I'm that sounds really horrible, like I'm shitting on religious people, but these are people who their reality is what, like, it means the same to them as your reality. You
Right.
think they're fucking stupid, and they're like, I pity him because he's going to fucking hell.
Yeah.
Right?
I pity
these
that
are
guy.
these are people who have devoted their lives to a greater purpose, to serving something greater, because they're not finding that in their day-to-day. And so I think if you're devoting your life to something like that, there's got to be something in there that's keeping you like, all right, well, I'm living for God. I'm not stealing from these people. I can't do it. So I
True.
wouldn't say a majority of churches, maybe there's a scumbag here or there, but I wouldn't say the majority. I think a lot of churchgoers get a bad rep, and they're good people trying to be good people, or they're bad people who need religion for a moral code and are still trying to be good people.
Okay, but who decides how the money gets divvied up?
Good question. I assume there's maybe not a council, but there's definitely a head of each church. Not a singular head, but there's a group of people in charge of each church.
So,
And I think they probably have some sort of meeting with
and I'm sure however
slots
much
where
they
they're like, well,
give
where do we put this?
themselves-
Where do we put this? Where do we put this?
Right, and I'm sure however much they give themselves is justified in their own brain to an extent.
Well,
I'm
but
sure
it's
they
not
don't-
one person, so I think that kind of eliminates a lot of the selfishness that would come from it.
What do you mean it's not one person?
It's not one dude at the head of the church who's like, all right, I'm going to put money toward that, and I'm going to put money toward that, and I'm going to take a whole bunch of that shit and put it in me, and give it to me.
In a lot of places it is.
I
My cousin
promise
runs,
you,
my
it's like
cousin and his wife run a church.
that's two people.
Okay, but they're married. They're one entity. They file their taxes together. Every penny they get is together.
And you think your cousin and his wife are
they're
selfish
one-
people?
No,
I think
No,
your
but
big
their church
mistake is thinking
makes-
that people are at heart
I
selfish.
don't think they're selfish. Okay, that's not a mistake to make. People at heart are selfish. That's the way the world works.
Okay, fucking
People have to get their piece of bread.
Thomas Hobbes.
No, people, you can't deny that.
No, that was Thomas Hobbes' ideology. This Thomas Hobbes and John Locke would butt heads in the Revolutionary era. They would butt heads about whether people were at heart selfless or at heart selfish. And both of them just wrote essay after essay of essentially like, if there were no government, would society still exist or would there be chaos?
I think it would exist. It's just not it's not the like fine-tuned thing you think it would be.
But I've heard you make the case for the
chaos.
opposite. I've heard you make the case that without big government, people will just continue to go about their lives. And you made it well.
Yeah.
Where's that, John?
I didn't say anything against that. Where did I say something against that?
Well, because you just said that people are at heart selfish.
Yeah, they are. In a world like that, you look at any civilization, and there hasn't always been an authority figure, but how did it progress to this? They figured it out. People value things, they value resources, but they also value lives, and they protect each other, and that's just a basis thing. Like, to get ahead, you need to not only work together, but sometimes you got to be selfish. And that life is just a series of people choosing to be selfish or selfless. So at the root, I think the survival as it is, the real root of survival, what fucking Darwin was talking about, that's where the selfishness comes from.
Do we need to continue to go by that? Because we're not living in the fucking woods anymore.
We don't need to continue to go by that, but it evolved into different things.
Okay. I guess I can see where you're coming from.
A person running a church that, runs based off of all these donations. And I'm not going to say that churches are bad. I'm not saying that they're stealing money. But I'm not 100% sure that the money always goes where it needs to go. That can be said about any institution.
Yeah, I was about to say that can be said about anything. So I think the case against churches specifically is just kind of falls flat because I could say that about Walmart.
Yeah, but it's...
John, are you 100% sure that if you died today, you would go to heaven?
It's differently based because we say a business is like that. You can't always make sure that the wealth is being distributed evenly.
Right.
But people aren't donating things. There's an exchange of goods here. With churches, a lot of times, sometimes it's rightful donations. But, I mean, if we're talking straight down to a donation basket,
yeah,
they're saying you are giving money to the faith. This is the money to God.
Right.
God doesn't need money.
God's pulling out his wallet every Sunday, like, thank God. Hang on, wait till Sunday. I get paid Sunday.
And there's been plenty of cases of pastors being caught in that act of, like, this huge donation came to the church. The next week, this huge sum of money went into his bank account. Right. And then he gets caught. And
plenty, but I don't think.
I'm saying
I think if it were the majority. I think if it were
the best ones don't get caught. How about that?
Sure. But I think if it were the majority of churches, there'd be a much higher rate of people getting caught and a much lower trust rate of
what makes
those
you
churches.
Think that? Because the church is a camouflage for all that trust.
I cannot get behind the idea that it's the majority of churches are immoral and stealing from donations.
I didn't say the majority of churches are immoral.
Well, that's my wording because you're saying the majority of churches probably are slipping by and stealing from those donations and not putting them where they need to be.
I'm saying, in my opinion, for a business that, because of faith, is left out of the tax pool, they get a lot of money, and a lot of that goes to the people running the churches. That's like a fact. You look at so many pastors and people like these people that have put their life into a church, and they all have nice homes. They all have nice cars, and they usually, I'm not saying that they didn't work for it, but the only point I'm trying to make is down the line, in a room by yourself, it's not even going to be 90% or it's not going to 100% of the time they're going to steal, but it's not going to be 90% of the time that they're not going to steal. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I just feel like if you've dedicated your life to serving God,
Stealing's
you believe that you're doing
because they a lot of times they're the ones in charge of who gets what.
Right. I feel like I can make this argument a whole lot better if I actually went to church and knew how it worked.
Yeah.
So we're both just kind of blind ducks shooting in the dark, or whatever that saying is.
I love it.
Whacking in the dark. But I can't help but feel like if someone has taken their whole life and been like, I'm dedicating myself to spreading the word of God, that those are the people that are, when in a room alone, the majority will be like, God's watching. I'm not stealing. These are people that believe that there's a God who is watching down and watching their every action, and they don't even in the room alone. They're not doing those things even behind closed doors.
There is a good portion of those people,
and I would argue that that's a good majority of people. I've met a lot of good Christians.
I don't think it's a majority.
Met a lot of bad Christians, but I've met a lot of good ones too. A whole lot more good ones.
Bare minimum, it's 50-50. It's not a majority.
I would not say 50%.
It's not a majority because so many people. You think about your average church. There's people who are in there that are in there for everything. And there's people who are in there that say they're in there for everything, but sin like nothing else. I would say
60-40 max.
They go home and they're not Christian anymore. They're just this person that they want to be, and then they show up to church and in front of these other Christians, because that's what a lot of church is. It's like showing off. It's like who's the more humble, pure being.
Oh yeah, I know that.
So
I had an ex-girlfriend.
It's a lot of that shit.
Okay, well hang on, real quick tangent. I had an ex-girlfriend, and we would, do boyfriend-girlfriend stuff.
Right.
And she had this friend who was dating Weston, and they would also do these similar boyfriend-girlfriend things, intimate things, and neither of them told each other. The other friend didn't know that the one was doing things because it was a constant, like, who's more Catholic?
Yeah.
I was like,
either way, when it all comes down to it, I'm a really extremely biased person to ask because I have negative trust in religion. I don't trust religious people.
You have negative trust in a lot of things.
You think so?
I don't think that's always unwarranted.
What's one other thing that comes to mind?
Government. Cops.
Oh, that was so fast. What was the other one?
Cops.
They're kind of the same thing.
They kind of, yeah. I would classify them differently.
They're like government pawns.
That's the thing, is like I would classify them differently, the same as like in a chess game, the king and the pawn is not the same piece.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. That I'm with a majority. I wouldn't say majority. I'm with a large population of people who also don't trust the cops or the government. So give me another one.
Give you another one that you don't trust.
Just something that's not cops, religion, government.
As if that's not the big three things.
It is the big three. You can't pick that if it's so widespread.
Let's see, what else do you
that's
not
like being...
trust? You don't trust. I don't think you trust many organized institutions in general. When we were working at Domino's, you would constantly be like, "It's all fucking corrupt." you would talk about the chain like Tammy. How are people like Tammy able to rise to the top if the system's not broken in a place like Domino's?
Did I say stuff like that?
You did say stuff like that.
I'm not going to doubt you. I say stuff all the time. And you have to remind me.
You were very often wondering how
a
business thrived where each store is something like that. There's got to be, something's broken and someone's profiting unfairly. And in a business where that is the kind of people that rise to the top, do you want to be a part of that? I think you're very mistrusting of organized institutions in general.
I don't trust.
And like I said already, that's not unwarranted.
That's big four. That's like number 4 on the big ones. So you got
Domino's.
religion, government / cops, because those two are kind of one,
right?
Separate for this instance. So you got religion, cops, government, corporations.
You don't trust me with Louis? With your son?
And there's the checkmate. I think that's going to finish us for today.
All right. Let me shake your hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you later. Here is Trev Sledge. Hey, Matt, I'm almost done with Caps Oof. Was that the pizza guy?
No, in fact, I don't think you'll ever guess who it is.
Was it Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's?
No, I thought I told you that joke was stupid.
Hi. I'm obviously you from a different universe. Look, I'll just cut right to the chase. We need your help. Okay, we're being threatened by something very big. No. What? I said no. What do you mean no? You can't say no. We need you. Nah, listen, if you were about to make the next big summer hit, you'd say no too. Listen to this.
This isn't gonna make any sense. My name is Trevor Like I said,
You let him make that?
look, he's a work in progress. You should have heard his last one. What was it called again?
You can always spot a homeschooled kid. Yeah, that was a banger.
Yeah, believe it or not, he's getting better.
Okay, yeah, you don't have a choice. You're coming with me. That was shit. You think my music is shit? I don't think you get it. Write that down. Write that down.
That's a pretty good line.
What's up? You do? Okay. We'll be right there. I'm so sorry. We have to go. Where are we? I told you I didn't want to come. That's him. That's the big threat. And a John.
Hey.
I didn't know he was going to be here.